Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Close Friends List podcast. I'm your host, Maddie. I'm so excited to get this started. I feel like I could accidentally go on and on about how excited I am for this secret project to come to light. It's actually definitely not a secret project. I told a lot of people, so I have a hard time keeping my own secrets. You know, as a kid, I really wanted to be a radio DJ. I used to have the CD player that came with a microphone, and I would just like annoy my family all day long by pretending that I was a radio DJ. And, but then I found out that you had to go to school for that. So I was like, screw that, I'm not going. But you know, I feel as though not only do I have the voice for radio, but I also have the body for it. So this just seems like the perfect thing for me, podcasting. This episode will kind of be an intro into who I am, about what we're going to do on this podcast. I will have guests in the future. Honestly, my plan is to just kind of shoot the shit with the people that are my close friends. If you don't know what the Close Friends List is, it's a feature on Instagram. There's this thing called Instagram stories, and you can post to what they call your close friends list. And it's like a small group of people. For me, I have 30 people on my close friends list, I think, like around that. And I post on there all the time. I rant, I tell funny stories. I'm just kind of like unfiltered on there. And I always thought, what if I post this content to the world? What if I post it to all of my followers? But then I decided to do a podcast instead so I don't lose followers because I post on there all the time. Anyway, I'm really excited to get this started, and there I go again, just talking about how excited I am. Anyway, a bit about me. My name's Maddie. My full name is Madeline, but I never go by that, only if I'm in trouble with my parents. That's about it. And maybe at teachers. But anyway, my name is Maddie. I'm 22 years old. I live in the Seattle area. I live specifically on the east side in the suburbs. I have 2 jobs, which is cool. I work as a manager of a swimming pool for kids, which is honestly like the funnest thing ever. I love that job. I have some really funny stories that I could share from there. I'm sure that all of my coworkers will be on here because I just love them all so much. I also just have a passion for what I do. I mean, you know, my job entails a lot of different things like lifeguarding, swim instructing, like front desk, customer service, like all these different things. But at the end of the day, we just teach kids how to be water safe and try to change the drowning statistics. So I feel really passionate about that. You know, my other favorite part of the job is the fact that I'm the manager. Like, I just thrive off of being in charge. And so whenever, you know, people will say, "Can I speak to your manager?" I just do a 360. It's me, baby. It's awesome. And honestly, people are always shocked because I'm like a young gal. And I don't know. I mean, people always expect like a man or something or someone older. And I'm just not, you know. One of my coworkers said that he thought I was 18. And that's just wrong. I don't think I look 18, but I am young. So, but love being in charge, love being the boss. My other job, it's kind of like a side gig, almost like this, but it's photography. So I've been a photographer forever. I took a photo class in middle school, and that's how I found out, like, wow, I'm actually good at something. And so I just kind of went with that. The class that I took in middle school was actually like a photography and glass art class. And on my website that I have for my photography, I make this joke where I'm like, the glass art part didn't really work out. Otherwise, this would be Maddie Ann's glass artistry. So I don't even remember. I think we just made like stars and plates. I don't know. Anyway, glass art is not my thing. Photography is. Oh my gosh. I have to tell this story. Sorry, just random. But a lot of photography that I do portraits. I do a lot of senior photos. I do a lot of family photos. That's like basically all I've been doing lately, which is great. I love kids, so it works out. But I've also done 2 weddings. The first wedding I did was a disaster. I don't even want to go into it. It was like so unorganized. And like when I got there, I started taking photos, and then I was like, oh, not only am I the photographer, but this couple, every single aunt and uncle they have is also a photographer too. Like people literally showed up to this wedding with professional cameras, like equal or better than mine. So I was like, why am I here? Anyway, But I did my friend's wedding, and we were in a chapel. This is so embarrassing. This is probably one of my most embarrassing stories. We were in a chapel. I'm taking the photos. We're down the aisle. It was like so beautiful. They did their own vows. It was just amazing. I'm in the middle of the aisle, and they're saying their I do's, and they're about to kiss. And I literally was like, I was on my knee in the center aisle taking photos because I wanted to get this certain angle. And I decided to stand up and walk backwards at the same time. And bam, I fell on my ass. I was so embarrassed. People turned and looked at me instead of them. And it was like the moment that they kissed, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, I just ruined their wedding day. It was so embarrassing. But then I talked to them after, and they were like, oh, we didn't even notice. And I'm like, see, that's how you know you guys are in love. You don't even care that I like literally ruined that moment for you guys. But anyway, so I've got those things going on. What else? I am from a big family. I believe that 80% of my listeners will be family members. Not because I'm like believing that people won't listen, but it's because that's how many people I have in my family. I personally have 4 siblings. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, Sarah, Connor, Chris, and Cole. Love them. I have parents who have been together for 100 years. I'm actually going on vacation with them soon. This weekend, like right as this episode comes out, like we'll be on vacation. So we'll definitely get some podcasting content from that and have them on. But yeah, I come from like a great family. I always hate that question, like, what's a fun fact about you? Or like an interesting fact. Like, I feel like I always have to have that like in my back pocket, especially for like things like interviews or I don't know, orientation day at a college. I went to college for a little bit, but honestly, like I just started working right out of high school. So, and I did a internship at a church. I won't go into that, but anyway, but I guess, a fun fact about me is in high school, I was in choir. I'm not a great singer. I'm just like a passionate singer. So I was in choir, and we somehow got invited to Carnegie Hall, which is like this big deal. It's in New York City. It was awesome performing there. We did that my junior year. I don't know how that happened. I was definitely not a part of the audition process, but I was an alto too, so shout out to all the altos out there. We get basically, the short end of the stick when it comes to singing in choir. Oh my gosh. This is a fun fact about me. You guys, I was on Wendy Williams. That's right. How you doing, Wendy Williams? Oh, I was on Ask Wendy. It was literally the best day of my life. It happened last year. Let me go into the story. Okay, before I go into the story, I actually have to talk about the backstory of it. So, I'm 22. Last year I was 21. Duh. Anyway, so I just started going out, and like I would go out to bars and like hang out with friends in that way. And so I didn't really have like very many friends at the time, like adult friends. Like I was working with a bunch of older people, and just I didn't go to college and things like that. And a lot of my high school friends were out of my life. And so I just wanted to like get more friends, and I love meeting new people. I love making new friends. So I decided to go on Bumble BFF, which is like super interesting. It's a weird place. I don't know if I would recommend it or not, but I tried it once and it was last year. So I go on Bumble BFF, and I matched with this one girl, which is like so weird to say. I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird. So I matched with this girl, and she messaged me and was like, hey, I'm getting a group of girls together to go out on Friday night. And I was like, that's such a genius idea. Like, let's just all get together. Yeah. So I was like, sure, I'll go. So it was this bar in Seattle, and I don't know why I went by myself. I'm like, that's so dumb. Like looking back at it, I was like, why didn't I force one of my current friends to like go with me? I'm not that lonely. But anyway, so I show up to this bar by myself, and the girl that I had been messaging was super late. Like I couldn't find her. So I was like getting anxious. I was by myself. So what else do you do when you get social anxiety than go to the bathroom, especially for girls? So I went to the bathroom, And I see these girls just like sitting there, and I'm a pretty bold person, I would say. Yeah. And so I saw these two girls and I was like, you know what? Like, screw it. I'm just going to ask them if they're a part of Bumble BFF. So I was like, hey, are you girls from Bumble BFF? And they were like, oh my God, yes. They were like to like some of the basic girls, but I can't even say that because I'm basic too. But anyway, so I started chatting with these girls, and then the whole group got together. I was really impressed because this one girl like gathered maybe about 10 of us, which was awesome. You guys are probably like, how does this tie back to Wendy Williams? I promise it does. Okay. Anyway, at the time I had a boyfriend. You guys are like, probably like, what is the story? So I had a boyfriend at the time. I'm out with these girls, and one of the girls that I met in the bathroom, she was like, okay, you guys, here's the plan. We are all getting laid. And she was like, the men out here in this bar are going to buy us drinks, and we're all like finding someone to be with tonight. And all of us were like, no, this is a GNO. Let's just hang out. Like, I was obviously like, I'm not interested. I have a boyfriend. And the other girls were just not interested either. So we were kind of like shutting this girl down, and she was very persistent. She was like, no, this is happening. And I was like, I have a boyfriend. She was like, well, is your boyfriend here? I was like, no. She was like, well, then it doesn't matter. Like, we're getting you a guy. So she kept sending guys my way the whole night. And I was just like, this girl's so weird. So after I left that night, I was like, never speaking to those girls again. I literally haven't talked to them again. But if they're listening, hi. I doubt they will. But it was a fun night, but I was just like stressed about that part. Anyway, so a month later, like less than a month later, I go to New York City with my friend Emma, and we go to the Wendy Williams show, which I was dying to go. I'm so happy that I went. It was so worth it because I've just like grown up watching Wendy. Like, I think she's so funny. I know she can be controversial and like people want to cancel her all the time, but in my opinion, she's funny and like is crazy. And that's why I love her. So I was super excited to go. So when you get to Wendy Williams, you have to like wait in this area. It's like honestly so ghetto, but I've heard that that's like how it is for a lot of shows. They're just kind of like sketchy. So we're sitting in this like sketchy basement waiting area of the studio. And the producers like had us fill out this kind of like questionnaire to know who's here, where are they from. So this producer comes up to me. I'm going to attempt a Jersey accent. Shout out to my friend Alexis. I know that she will probably give me shit for doing this, but this producer comes up to me and she goes, hey, like, we saw that you're from Seattle. That's like across the country. So we want you to be on Ask Wendy. Can you think of a dramatic story that's happened to you within like the past month or so, or anything you'd want to ask Wendy? And I was like, I can't think of anything to ask Wendy, but I have to get on. Like, I have to think of something. Like, I was just trying like so hard. So the girl was like, has anything dramatic happened to you like in the past month or year or so? Like, whatever. It doesn't have to be true. Like, just whatever. And so I told her this story that I just told you guys. And she was like, great. Does this girl know your boyfriend? I was like, no. Okay, well, on Ask Wendy, she does. Okay, does this girl, is she your best friend? Does she go out with you every weekend? And I was like, no. Well, that was like the first time I met her. She was like, okay, well, on Ask Wendy, you guys are both in the same college. Y'all are best friends, and this happens to you every weekend. And then you're going to ask Wendy, like, how do I get this girl to stop trying to get me to cheat on my boyfriend? And we'll see what she says. Maybe she'll say something dramatic, like, you know, she's trying to get to your mans. And so I was like, awesome. I mean, that works for me. So I was kind of embarrassed when it came out because it is like not the full true story. But it was awesome. And so they had me like, they literally printed out a script for me. They had me rehearse it with the same producer over and over again. And then I was on Ask Wendy, and it literally like blew up on their social media. Like I'll post pictures and I'll actually post the video. When it first came out, I was like so embarrassed because I'm from like a conservative family and stuff like that. And I hadn't really shared that I had been going out and like I had just turned 21, and I felt embarrassed a little bit, but now I think it's so awesome. It was like the best thing ever. And it was just awesome. Wendy grabbed my hand. She called me Maddie, darling. And I was like, oh, it was amazing. You guys have to see it. I'll do a big reveal of the video on the Close Friends List Instagram. I literally haven't posted it ever, but I'm excited for you guys to see it. Another fun fact about me is I'm vegetarian. So random. I've been vegetarian since I was like 10 years old. So people are always like, how do you not eat meat? And I'm like, I haven't been since I was a child. I was literally in elementary school. So I remember like what happened was I just really didn't like meat. And then also I watched a documentary about how poorly meat is processed in the United States. And I was like, I can't get behind this anymore. I'm a girl with a mole on her face. I have this mole on my face. Some people call it a beauty mark, but I know it's a mole and I literally hate it. It's like the only thing that I really don't like about myself is this mole. And I remember as a kid, like, oh my God, this is so bad. But when I was a kid, we had this friend who had a mole on her face and like people would always make fun of it and like talk shit about it. And I always thought like, do people talk shit about my mole on my face? You know, because I was like, I look like her. Like, Anyway, so if you grew up with me and talk shit about my mole, please email me at theclosefriendslist@gmail.com. Or maybe not. I don't know if I want to know. But either way, I am more than my mole. I've literally tried to get it removed 3 times. And my doctor was like, moles will always grow back unless you're 30. So I've got to wait another few years. Oh God, no, not another few years, quite a few years until I can get this mole removed. I've had a nose job before, low key. I don't know why I'm going down this road of telling you guys my medical history, but like, here we are. I have had like sinus problems and I had a sinus surgery and honestly, it didn't work. It literally didn't work. And I also thought it was suspicious that literally like I had my surgery. 3 days later, we get a letter in the mail that my surgeon had retired. Does my surgery have to do with his retirement? I don't know. I wish I did. Especially because I literally feel like it didn't work. But it was low key a nose job. One of the worst things ever. I can't even. How are you guys doing in the queue, in the quarantine? I've been calling it the queue. It has been, I've been living the nightmare. You know how people say they live in the dream? Well, I've been living the nightmare. I don't want to go into all this, but I had some roommate drama and she left without notifying me. And so I pretty much was in quarantine by myself this whole time. And I've been going crazy because I'm an extrovert. I'm an ENFP. I'm a type 7 with 8 with 9. I don't even know, but I'm the type that needs people in their life. And so I was just like really unwell, literally living the nightmare. I feel like my hobbies are going to groups and gatherings of 10 or more, 50 or more, going to non-essential businesses, sitting butt cheek to butt cheek with people at bars and restaurants. And so it's just like my whole life crumbled. But I did do some fun stuff. I have a kayak. So on the days that were nice, I just like went out on my kayak. I bought a workout trampoline. Honestly, one of the best investments. It was so fun. And I FaceTimed people all the time. So a lot of my close friends are annoyed with me because I just was constantly on FaceTime with them. Honestly, this whole time I've been like, what is really going on? You know, Seattle was like at its peak. I actually live like so close to where the outbreak happened in the US. So that was pretty scary, but I never got it, never had symptoms, like nothing like that. So I feel really blessed that I have not been like personally affected by it. I even got to work from home. So that was super nice. And I just feel really lucky, but I've just been like, what is going on? You know, like Vanessa Hudgens said, you know, it's a virus. We got to respect it. That was honestly, it was a little funny. I know that she got canceled for that and it was like really bad what she said, but it was honestly a little funny that she said that. One of my favorite things was when Cardi B was like, if you work at the Pentagon, let a bitch know. That's literally how I feel. I'm like, what is happening? Jay Inslee, let us know. Let a bitch know what is happening. Oh my gosh. Next week, my good friend Jaden is coming on. We have a secret project that we're working on that I'm really excited for it to get out there in the world. It's a very exciting musical project. I want you guys to share your stories with me. So I have an email at theclosefriendslist@gmail.com. I'm going to be thirsting out for these emails or DMs, you know, because I want you guys to email me your stories that you would share on your close friends list, and I will share them anonymously on this podcast. I really want like listener engagement like that. Maybe I'll set up a voicemail someday, get a landline here at my apartment. No, that would be terrible. But you guys want to share your funny stories, embarrassing ones. It can be something more serious. I don't know. Just email me and share things with me. The last thing that we're going to do today and that we're going to do every single week is we're going to have the close friends list of the week. So it's basically literally a free Instagram shout out. So I'm going to shout out 3 people every single week that are on our close friends list. So the first one for me is Influencers in the Wild. This account is so funny. It literally shows influencers thirsting out in the streets. Like literally they show girls twerking in the middle of a road for a TikTok. You know the pink wall in LA? Oh my gosh. When people are like, I'm moving to LA. I actually have a friend that literally just moved back to LA. So like that doesn't count. Katie, I'm not talking about you. But people are like, yeah, like I'm moving to LA for my YouTuber dreams. Honestly, I should have done that back in 2012. Moved out to LA for my YouTuber dreams. But whatever. Now I got a podcast. But Influencers in the Wild is our first person on the close friends list for this week. The next one is Heather McMahon. Oh my gosh, she is literally my favorite comedian. She actually has a podcast, so I'll plug that. She is so funny. One of my favorite things that she said was she was talking about her fiance. He like has a beard, and I guess people were DMing her about like how ugly his beard is, which is like so not okay. But she said, his body, my choice. And I was like, wow, that is goals. If I get a husband someday, that better be my tagline. His body, my choice. And the last one is my best friend, Kiana Davis Hopkins. She has no idea that she's getting a shout out on here. So Kia, I love you. Her and I have been friends since middle school. So it's been like forever. We reconnected in high school though. So I feel like we've only been friends since high school, but we've been through so much together. I will have her on here someday, but she is awesome. She's beautiful, stunning, smart, works at Puma. She's just doing all the things out there. And yeah, so give her a follow. The last thing I want to talk about on this podcast before we end is the Black Lives Matter movement. I actually recorded an episode maybe about 2 weeks ago. I had gone to protesting like 4 days in a row here in Seattle. And when I came home, I just felt like so like on fire. And I was like, I want to get this out there. I need to talk about these issues. They're so important. And so I recorded an episode by myself. And then I kind of realized, you know what, like I need to have more diversity in this episode, especially with the topic. And so I'm putting together an episode currently to have different of my close friends on to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and to talk about racism. So I just wanted to make sure that my listeners know that that is something that I stand for. That is something that is constantly on my mind, honestly, something I've been learning about. A movie that I would recommend is 13th on Netflix. It's really important to watch because it goes through the history of racism in the US, basically systematically what has gone wrong. And I feel like that has been the most important thing that I've watched in this time. Another thing is just to, you know, a positive note of the Black Lives Matter movement is that people have been supporting Black businesses and Black people who are like creative and things like that. So I definitely am excited to share those resources on my Instagram. I have been on my personal one, different businesses in the Seattle area. So I would just encourage you guys to honestly look on Instagram for resources as far as supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and supporting Black people in general. So I just want to have different people on to talk about this. I want this to be an ongoing conversation. At first, you know, I was like, I need to get this out right away. But instead of doing it right away, I want to do it right. So I'm really excited to kind of get that together. And I want you guys to know that that is happening. And if you have stories that you want to share with me that you want me to share on the podcast, like I would love to do that as well. I know that I keep thirsting out for emails, but like, I mean it. Like I would love to know your story and I would love to know your experience, and maybe even if you're white, I would love to know the ways that you have grown and maybe even like mistakes that you've made. I don't know. I mean, I know that I've made mistakes within my life. One of the biggest ones is that I just didn't pay attention and I just didn't really let it affect me. And now I feel as though the whole world is being pressured to let it affect them and to pay attention. And so I hope that you guys are as well. Instagram is honestly such a good resource to get people's opinions in real time. At the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is that Black Lives Matter. And that is something that I stand for personally and that I fight for, and that I know that the people in my life do as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that that's where my heart is coming from, and that episode is coming soon. But next week I have my friend Jaden on, so I'm really excited for that one, for the secret project to come out. Thank you so much for tuning in to the first episode of the Close Friends List podcast. I'm going to drop these every single Friday so that you got that weekend content. I feel like there's no weekend content out there. So, I'm pioneering in the weekend content. Just kidding. I'm definitely not. But we're going to drop every single Friday. You can follow at The Close Friends List on Instagram, and you can always email us at theclosefriendslist@gmail.com, or just click the email button in my profile. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys next Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.